Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel, it's Cynicalex, and today I want to rank all of the existing awakened characters and their awakening skills to give you guys a better idea of how you should be investing your mandalay gem fragments, your awakening stones, and that other material if you want to actually go ahead and push for awakened characters, because like tier 3 characters, they do get a substantial bonus. They get a brand new skill that they can use every 30 seconds, and it is a substantial power jump for a lot of these characters, especially ones like Mystique and a few others that we'll talk about. But before we do the actual ranking for awakening characters, I do have a few pieces of advice and a few comments I want to make about awakening in general. Now, the same advice that I give for tier 3 characters and upcoming tier 3 characters is what I will give for awakening characters. If you are unsure of who to awaken, if you just recently built up to 1,000 mandalay gem fragments and you're thinking, who should I awaken? If there is an update around the corner, your best bet is to always just wait and see who the awakening character is. Now, judging based on when the last update was and judging based on when I think the next update will be, we are looking at a time frame of either the 20th or the 27th. I'm guessing it's going to be the 27th. So we're just about 2 weeks away from a brand new update, which means we should be seeing sneak peeks any day now. You know, in a couple days we'll be seeing sneak peeks. If there's an APK for the Star Creator Club, we will see that in about a week and change. So because of that, I think it's best to always wait if you are unsure, if you're hesitating, if there's an update around the corner, right? If we just got an update and you're like, no, I don't like the new awakening character, in this case Red Guardian, then you're probably safe bet to go and get another character, because unless you're farming a very small amount of mandalay gem fragments, by the time of the next update, you should at least have a couple of hundred to play with, unless you're completely ignoring squad battle. But then that's really why you don't have any mandalay gem fragments, right? I mean, it's easy to get them if you just play squad battle. Everyone will rank up eventually to a higher league. So with that being said, the last thing I want to talk about before we get into the ranking system for awakening characters is the design of awakening characters. I don't dislike it. I do think that it is an interesting departure from tier 3s, and I like that they are sort of differentiating those two types of characters. It is a shame that awakening characters don't get a stat bump. Now, I understand that they try to cover up the lack of a stat bump. I'm talking, you know, attack, defense, and HP, because that's what tier 3 characters get. So they sort of mask that stat bump, the loss of the stat bump, by giving those fat stats there, right? You've got the all attack, all defense, 50-50. That is really meant to buffer and create a situation in which they're going to feel like tier 3 characters minus the HP. But then the awakening skill has the advantage of being available every 30 seconds regardless of what you do. It also has the added advantage of always having iframe ignore, yada yada yada. However, I will say this: unlike tier 3 skills, the awakening skills already feel a little bit redundant, and they already seem to feel a little bit too similar to one another, and I think that's a big problem. So I think that the devs need to look hard at the design philosophy behind awakening skills, and they really need to start to differentiate them a lot more, because really, at this point, we're looking at awakening skills with one of two ideas, right? One is the awakening skill itself very strong, i.e. it has, you know, as insane damage, insane burst damage, or it's got an insane effect. In Mystique's case, it's the minus 70% all defense down. If it doesn't have one of those things, then the character themselves with their awakening skill, in this case the Warriors of the Sky, and the fact that they can revive, that has to have some kind of crazy synergistic property. So in the case of the Warriors of the Sky, they're actually very good to awaken if you have all of them or most of them. Oh, did I change that team? Anywho, the Warriors of the Sky are actually very, very good to awaken if you have more than 2 of them, because of the fact that they revive with Sunbird. So when they revive with Sunbird, you essentially get to play and you get to cast your awakening skill right away again. So let's say you're fighting against Blue Dragon in PvP and you kill her before she gets her awakening skill, before she gets it you know, off cooldown. If she has Sunbird on the team and then she revives, as she revives, all of her skills are off cooldown. So then she gets to do her awakening skill. So it's those sort of unique properties that make awakening skills very strong. As much as we love Superior Octopus's awakening skill for how beautiful it looks animation-wise, it's a beautiful looking skill, it doesn't really deal that much damage. It can be a little bit disappointing at times when you're just looking at a skill for the damage and for the artwork. So I think they need to experiment more with different types of effects. I think this cookie cutter, you know, crit rate, crit damage, ignore dodge, invincibility, debuff removal, and then 50-50 all attack, all defense that every single awakening skill has, I think that's going to get boring and it's going to get stale very fast. So I really encourage the devs to be more creative and they should look at it more through the lens as they look at tier 3 skills and really try to differentiate things, create different types of skills. For example, Thanos' tier 3 skill, it lingers on the battlefield for a really long time. It's on the battlefield, he throws the portal at you or whatever, the black hole, and then it stays there and can kill multiple characters in PvP. Those sorts of things, experiment with, large AoE or persistent effects. You can experiment with an awakening skill that only has a buff, right? That isn't actually a damaging skill. It just gives you some crazy buff. Like, how amazing would it be, for example, if someone like Hulk or Juggernaut, I know we would love to get a tier 3 for both of these characters, but let's just say for one of these characters, right, Hulk or Juggernaut, they have an awakening skill, and their awakening skill awakens them, and it basically is just like multiply your attack by 2 rather than doing a percentage. So whatever that would be, plus 100% or plus 200% attack, whatever. Multiply your HP, give you some crazy healing for the next 10 seconds, right? So you can just go berserk, and all of your skills will have a 1 second cooldown like Doctor Strange. So the skill itself doesn't actually do damage, but it gives you so much crazy utility that you feel like the character just, went berserk for the next 10 seconds or the next 5 seconds because of the way that it's designed, and it would fit and it would suit some characters so well. So with that being said, let's talk now about the list of existing awakening characters and where I see their value and where I see them ranking in terms of like their value for each other. Obviously, it's different when you're ranking awakening characters via all characters and looking at them compared to tier 3s and stuff like that, but I just want to rank them within each other. So it's no surprise, Mystique is number 1. She's the best awakened character. Obviously, her tier 2 passive helps that a lot, but I think even if she didn't have her tier 2 passive, she would be an amazing character because of Mutant Assassination. It's all in the awakened skill. It's just insane. The minus 70 is bonkers. It just does incredible amounts of damage, and it just makes her very, very strong and able to one-shot a lot of content. Next up, the second best awakened character, honestly, I do think is Blue Dragon. I'm trying to find her right here. The reason why I think Blue Dragon is the second best awakened character is because she already gets a lot of stat bonuses, not only from her passive, but also from her leadership. Very, very strong for PvE and PvP. And that's going to be a recurring theme for the Warriors of the Sky, especially if they get uniforms in the future, because the Warriors of the Sky are very strong for PvP as a group. Sunbird allows them all to revive, and like I said, when awakened characters revive, their awakened skill is immediately off cooldown. So if you're playing in PvP and your Blue Dragon dies, when she comes back, you can immediately cast Celestial Judgment. Now, Celestial Judgment doesn't do that much damage, and it has a weird sort of targeting where you have to wait for the dragon, the Sky Kirin, to show up. So there's like this long, like 5-second period of just like dead time. So if you're fighting an opponent that has iframe ignore or something like that, you're in for punishment. But otherwise, she deals out a lot of punishment, and that combination already goes, hand in hand with the damage she does on Spear, Whip Strike, and Fury of the Dragon. So you make for a very lethal combination. At number 3, although I want to put the Warriors of the Sky next, I would put Dr. Octopus. Now, Dr. Octopus is worse than Mystique already. It took one update for him to be replaced as the best speed villain, but he's still very strong. Dr. Octopus, like I said, his tier 3, his awakened skill doesn't do that much damage, but, I mean, it doesn't do that much damage compared to some other tier 3 skills or some other awakened skills, but compared to his skills, it does insane damage. And the fact that he has the self buff from Tentacle Shockwave on his uniform means that you can ramp Sinister Plan's damage even more. So that's sort of the disappointing thing about Dr. Octopus or Superior Octopus, is skills 1 to 5 really don't do much damage at all. Really only skill 3 can do good damage when you combo it properly. But his 6th skill, when comboed properly, does do massive damage. So he basically needs to be awakened to even be a threat at all. But when he is awakened, he actually is a pretty big threat. At number 4, I would rank Red Skull next. And Red Skull actually didn't get enough time in the spotlight. I think if we hadn't gotten 2 speed characters with Ignore Iframe recently, that Red Skull might see a lot more play. It's kind of unfortunate. But we're going to need to see a rise in combat heroes. So we're going to need to see some sort of update revolving around, Mr. Fantastic or Wolverine or someone else, Namor maybe, for him to really shine, because he's still got that Hero Hunter passive. But his Hydra Rallying Cry skill is amazing. It's really, really good. He gets 7 seconds of mind control. So he's actually probably better now for World Boss than ever before. He has his own all defense down, minus 55%, so he's sort of self-sustaining, and he's pretty much got everything. He's got healing, he's got crazy buffs like Captain Marvel, and like I said, he'll always be a threat, especially against combat heroes, because of that Hero Hunter passive. So yeah, very exciting character. Still think he's really good. He's a little bit slept on. He's almost as good as Dr. Octopus, Superior Octopus. The only reason I put Superior Octopus ahead of Red Skull is because of Superior Octopus's value in squad battle and ABX. Coming in at number 5, we have Sunbird. And Sunbird, here's the thing, and this is the interesting thing, and this is what can make Awakening skills very unique. Sunbird is not a good character on his own. As a standalone character, even with his Awakening skill, he's not very good. He's just not. Searing Flame does not do very good damage, and his skills 1 to 5 do not do very good damage. But you take a below average character and you give them an above average passive, Ashen Rebirth, allowing not only him, but allowing the other Warriors of the Sky to all revive. And then you create a situation in which when you revive, all of your skills are off cooldown, including your Awakening skill, and now you have a recipe for absolute annihilation. So if you've never seen this in Alliance Conquest or in Shadowland King of the Hill, picture this. You choose your 3 fighters, whoever it is, Jean Grey, Thanos, and Colossus. Sure. On the other side of the team, you see Blue Dragon, Sunbird, and War Tiger, who's the next one on the list, by the way. He's number 7 or whatever. You kill all 3 of them, and you're like, yeah, okay, we're halfway there. All 3 of them revive, and they all do their Awakening skill. Colossus is dead, Thanos is dead, Jean Grey's dead. Now suddenly that 3 versus 0 has flipped the script, and now it's 3 versus 1. Yeah, scary, scary stuff. And that's all because of Ashen Rebirth. If Ashen Rebirth wasn't his passive, he would be a terrible character, and Blue Dragon, Shadow Shell, and War Tiger would be much worse. So it's a very interesting passive. It's a really interesting synergy. I think this is really where the devs need to look to find inspiration, because this is the way to design a character, right? You don't want one character to be so overpowered. If he had an amazing skill set like Blue Dragon and he had a super high DPS Awakening skill, he would be busted, because he would always revive and do his skill. But he's not that good. He's not that good until you put him on the team. Putting him on the team then makes him amazing and makes the team amazing, which is why he's up at number 5 on the list. So I think that was really interesting, really good design choice on the devs' part, and that's why he is where he is. Up next, we have War Tiger, rounding out the end of the list here for the Warriors. Well, almost rounding out the end of the list here for the Warriors of the Sky. War Tiger takes the spot over Shadow Shell for Awakening because of the fact that he has a heal. So he can just basically stay alive longer. Staying alive longer means that you have more chances to trigger Earth Shatter again. And the more times you trigger the Awakening skill, like I said, it has Ignore Iframe. It's got high damage. So it's going to, it's going to chip away, and it's going to do damage enough to maybe kill your opponents. Shadow Shell, on the other hand, not a bad character at all. She's universal, which is interesting. She does give damage reduction to the team, but unfortunately, it's just not enough. 25%. If it was 50%, or if it was decreased damage received by villains and heroes 25%, it would be a lot more potent, but it just doesn't work out enough and doesn't work out well enough for her. She does have a good Awakening skill, but it's just not that good. And you can see the cost here to go up to the next level. It's just not that good. It's got a bit wonky targeting, and it also has like a lingering effect. It's got low damage, but it's got like a over time effect, Venomous Roar. I think they need to bump up the damage on this to really make it worth it. I don't really see you investing in her. I would definitely invest in Blue Dragon, War Tiger, and Sunbird first to make that crazy trio for AC and other PvP content, especially Rumble content, and then leave Shadow Shell until the end. And then finally, of course, the last Awakened character is the newest Awakened character. I honestly think that Red Guardian is the worst Awakened character in the game currently, which is unfortunate because he's the most recent one. And that to me means that either the devs rushed his Awakened skill and didn't really consider it, or they don't really care and they're just creating these in a sort of copy-paste lazy way. So either way, it's not a good look. They definitely need to go back and rework this Awakened skill. They need to make it better, and they need to make it more unique. It's got a lot of self-buffs, but all the other Awakened skills have self-buffs. And it's got all defense down, but it doesn't go past minus 50%. I checked. Someone, one of the fans in the community was nice enough to send me a screenshot of it. So he's just basically a worse version of Mystique. He's a worse version of Mystique. He's a combat hero instead of a speed villain, which is much more common and less rare. And he doesn't have a passive that buffs the team in an interesting way like Mystique does. So yeah, he's just like a way worse version of Mystique. Nice. No, not nice. So yeah, I wanted to make this video as well to highlight Red Guardian and to highlight the shortcomings of the Awakening system. The Awakening system can really feel bad, and it can fall flat on its face and be really lame if they do stuff like this. So hopefully they don't do stuff like this. And hopefully Red Guardian gets a rework because he deserves to be better. It'd be very interesting if his Red Hero's entrance buffed him and gave him like a passive heal like Wolverine. Like I said, there's a lot of creativity and there's a lot of room for experimentation with the awakening skills. They should definitely do that rather than just doing a bunch of cookie cutter copy paste stuff. The last thing I want to do here, really interesting, is give you an updated list if Yelena Belova got her awakening skill, because we saw that data mine from Owl Pink Chode, but we never got the awakening skill for Yelena. We were expecting the awakening skill when we got the uniforms, but we didn't get it. So where would I put Yelena if she got an awakening skill? Can you guess? I'll give you a few seconds to think it over. You got your answer? I think Yelena would be absolutely busted with an awakening skill. I would put her second only to Mystique, and there's a possibility that with an awakening skill, Yelena could be the #1 awakening character in the game. It is now the #1. Okay, you know what that's from. So why do I think Yelena could be the #1 character, the #1 awakened character in the game if she got an awakening skill? Well, when you equip this uniform, she can stall for 6 seconds. Sorry, 7 seconds. Yeah, 7, 14, 21, 28. Guess what comes after 28? You're dead. Yup, you guessed it. She can stall so well with Pop Smoke, RIP, that she will be able to cast her awakening skill pretty much guaranteed in PvP. So imagine if Yelena wasn't already busted enough in PvP, it's kind of like Black Widow. So you can imagine how strong Black Widow is now, or if you've already tier 3'd her, you could just go and check it out yourself. But she's so good with the snowsuit because you Relentless Chain Assault into Black Widow backup fire. Relentless Chain Assault, Black Widow backup fire. A couple more of those, and then you can pop her tier 3 skill mission complete, and you just wipe the board. Whoever's left is gone. Yelena would be exactly the same, except she's potentially more dangerous because it's a 7-second stall. So you only have to do it 4 times. You don't have to worry about charging up the awakened skill. It happens every 30 seconds, regardless of how many skills you do. So yeah, really interesting design choices here. This really cool interplay with a lot of these awakening skills and some of these characters. Unfortunately, some of the other characters like Shadow Shell, Red Guardian, and to a lesser extent Dr. Octopus don't seem and feel as unique as others. So I still think the awakening system is cool. I also think it has a lot of room to grow, and I really encourage the devs to do so. Do not cookie cutter and copy paste it. Let me know what you think of my list. Let me know what you think of the ranking and of my speculation on Yelena. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.